congratulations to my nephew, Issa. He graduated from St. John's
Hey.
University.
Yeah. For the masters.
No,
bachelor's. All right.
So I was a few people recognize me. So shout out to those people that watch Market Mondays, Blackout, Earn Your Leisure. You know, it's always good to have conversations when you're out. But this brings me to this little off the script topic. There's a lot of hundreds of thousands of children that's probably, or young adults that's graduating from college. What would be the advice for somebody that just graduated from college and is now entering the real world?
This is a great question. If I can go back to college, you mean from an investing lens or just in general?
I mean, we could do either one. Well, definitely from some financial tips, and then just some life tips.
Number one, find 3 companies to marry. Right now, for me, for your nephew, it would be probably Microsoft, Visa, and Bitcoin on the drop. I'm almost done with Apple. I'm not gonna lie. Doesn't mean you should sell it if you're already in it, but as a new investment, I'm tired of y'all. I'm gonna start a chant about what leadership should be at Apple if y'all don't make some changes by August. Just letting you know. Microsoft, Visa, Bitcoin. No matter what anybody tells you, parents, friends, family, girlfriend, side piece, whomever, just me and you talking about you. Put at least 20% of your money into it. Should be the first bill you pay. I beg of you. I know people gonna be like, yo, pay off debt first. Paying off debt first if you're black does not work. Because guess what? Another bill gonna pop up. Always. I went back and calculated like from college through now. If I had did that, it's a big number. Oh my God. So put 20% of that money in, and then you have to find a business. Call Rashad, ask him every week, what should I do to scale? Because and this is the thing, if you have somebody that's a world leader and you don't use it, like my family's like, I don't want to bother you. I'm not about to bother me. Trust me. Like you have to build a business, because as the U.S. economy is falling apart, entrepreneurship is more needed, especially internationally. I will find a way to get over to Ghana too with my uncle and say, hey, help me build a business here. Because now, like, we have 2 tech, 2 index. I think just to be in one country doing business is the biggest risk you're going to have on your plate over the next 20 years. So business in two countries, Microsoft, Visa, Bitcoin, and put 20% of the money in. No matter what happens, then you can go have fun and travel around, go to Brooklyn Chop House, have a blast after, but put the capital to work and build your business.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great advice. For me, I would definitely say what you said, just piggyback and invest early. And it's hard to invest when you don't have money. I get that.
Call Rashad and get
it. as soon as you start to have some level of income, you got to start investing. And you want to invest in assets that have 50-year trajectories. So, of course, you're talking about Bitcoin. You're talking about, like you said, you're talking about Microsoft. You're talking about NVIDIA.
NVIDIA.
SMH, the chip stocks. These are tech leaning company. I would definitely QQQ. Like, you want to invest in companies that are going to change the world in the next 50 years, and that's technology companies for sure.
Yeah.
And I think improving skill sets that are not even part of a school curriculum is important. Artificial intelligence, really diving in, learning it, figuring out every aspect, watching every YouTube video, watch the video that we did with X, watch every YouTube video, watch every, just get your hands on it, just kind of, figure it out on your own, trial and error. I do that all the time. I'm figuring out, CapCut. I'm in CapCut, figuring it out. I'm in Canva, figuring it out from a content creation standpoint. You have to, the best life lesson is to actually do something and
do something every day.
And I would definitely, the tricky part for a lot of college graduates now is that it's hard to get jobs. And that's the tricky part, right? So I think entrepreneur skill set is vitally important, but then also figuring out how to invest in stocks, how to trade, how to invest in real estate. You got to find ways to have multiple streams of income. And like I said, I know that's difficult if you don't have any money, but at least learning, having an idea, having a set game plan, because you need your game plan now. You can't wait the days of like, all right, I'm just gonna play around for my 20s, and then when I turn 30, that's when I'm gonna get serious with life. That's
no, it doesn't work that way.
That's an outdated mindset. So you got to figure out what you want to do early, so you can already be planning and putting it in place, even if you're not actually gonna be able to fulfill that dream till you're 30. At least by the time you get to 30, because like
Life is smooth.
like Big said, being broke at 30 giving
chills. Ooh, he never lied, especially at 40. Ooh, boy, that's where all the little hate come from. I'm so tired of y'all. I'm gonna be your first daughter, yo. You should have listened.
That's a fact. And the last thing I'll say about this too is for parents and for people that's not even in college yet, you gotta make sure you're figuring out the right degrees to get. You got to make sure that your student loan is low as possible. Go to state schools, go to schools that's like, these are all things that you got to take into consideration beforehand.
Yeah.
Because it's getting serious out here. So it was hard to get a job 10 years ago. It's harder to get a job now, but inflation is going up. So the cost of college is going up. So you don't want to have $400,000 of student loans and then still can't get a job. If you're not going to get a job, at least have no student loans or low student loans. Don't have both. That's a double whammy.
Tough. Man, at one point before Troy goes,
to
the parents, the lead developer of AI at Microsoft got laid off. Please be patient with your children. A lot of parents go out and get a job. They're laying off people who are putting together neural networks. They got an AI bot that they've put together with a human brain. That some of that team got laid off. Be patient, be encouraging. I'm not saying let them be lackluster and let them play 2K all day, but encourage them while this job market is tight, while the leadership is a little bit off-putting to some nations, and while the hiring freeze is continuing slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think all those things, I mean, that is a blueprint, right? Create the plan. I think one of the things that we have to recognize is what's your value add. I think a lot of kids will leave college with the degrees, and I can speak for myself, and it's like, well, what do I do with this? Like, what does this mean, right? I have this degree, but in health science, what does that even mean, right? Like when I walk into a space, does that speak anything to me? So understand what value you bring outside of what that paper says is going to be important, because you're walking into the space, the paper isn't. The other thing, like you were saying, is that plan, and you have to create it, whether from an investment standpoint, from a paying off debt standpoint, because real world starts, right? You graduate, and 6 months after, they're like, where's that money at? Right. And you can go in deferment for 12 months after that, but then you're just pushing the barrel down the hill. It's not running away. Student loan is one of those things that you cannot file bankruptcy from, and it will be with you, and it will affect you long term. And so creating a plan around how you're going to repay that, whether it's creating multiple streams or, you know, having multiple sources of income from jobs, is important. And I think what's as important, especially for this generation, is networking across. Right? Like, we got to start surrounding ourselves with people who are like-minded. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the community we've created, the community you've created, is just like-minded people. You've graduated college. You've now separated yourself from certain peer groups, right? You can look around at the kids you went to high school with, and they didn't get to this point. And it's for a reason, right? There's a reason why you made it here. But the people you graduated with have now done the same thing that you've done. I said this the other day. We was talking to some young adults in our community. They were like, what's the best thing about, you know, being where you're at? And I get to learn every day. And they were like, well, what are you learning here? I'm like, I can learn something new from you today. Like, I'm never too old to learn something new, especially from an age group. I said, what we got to realize is that when you're in elementary school, you're one of 20 kids, right? And it feels like, all right, that's what you're competing against. Then you get to like middle school, and like you're one of 120 in your class, or maybe a bigger, maybe 200. Then you leave and you go to college, and now you're one of maybe 20,000, right, that you're competing against. And then what happens like yesterday when, you know, he graduates from college, Now you're one of 4 billion. You compete against the world. And so it goes back to number one, what is your value add when that is your competition? And so microcosm of all those things together, I think that is the blueprint. What you said, Rashad, what Ian said, and those three things, like put those things down, write the plan, create the strategy, and it's time to figure out. You're part of the world now.
And then also I'll say the last thing about this is tap into your social networks as far as not Instagram or Facebook, but I mean like if you go to a school, they have an alumni association.
Yep.
You should be a part of the alumni association. If you were in school and you joined any fraternity or sorority, of course, that's good to, you know, stay in touch with that and be active because a lot of people are in fraternities and they're not active members. Pay your
Yeah.
dues. You got to pay your dues. You got to actually go to meetings because most of these people, like any type of organization, 80% of the people are not active.
How they should be. Yep.
And they don't benefit. The 20%, like you got to go to the meetings. You got to volunteer. Like you got to actually do things, right? So stay engaged because your network is vitally important, and especially like if you go to a school that has a strong alumni association, you want to stay connected to that because you might get some benefits and breaks just based off of that because you have some level of commonality that somebody else might not have.
That's why I said when that paper comes across and it says St. John's grad and you know the CFO or the CMO is from that school, you have a good chance, right? Just that commonality that we've shared something in common. There's a network here, right? That's what happens a lot of times. People will say, "Oh, it's about what you know." No, man, it's who you know.
Yeah,
it's who you know.
And you got to educate yourself. You got to watch Market Mondays. We wrote the book. It's called How You Deserve to Be Rich. Read the book. Like these kind of things that change your life, especially at a young age. That's vitally important. Speaking of St. John's, switching gears.
Well, really, can I add one more thing for your nephew?
Yes.
Now it's all nephews, everybody in the family. Put your ideas out into the world, and I will call my uncle because he got a big social platform. Let's say hypothetically, if he wanted to work at Google, I would map out my 50 ideas that I would want to do at the company, because it also makes the process, like I've seen people get jobs who have created speculative or concept projects for a company, and maybe it doesn't land, but at least they can see how you think, or maybe a competitor will grab you. This is why I'm putting out the content for free. Before we did the show, I was putting out stuff on Facebook for I did in a decade. There's a point of reference. Like a lot of you are going into an interview blind with no brand leverage. But if you're walking into the interview with your 50 ideas, or you did like a post of the day about what you can do to help a company be better, it's going to help you a lot more get a job, because at least that hiring person or CEO or CFO will be able to see what you could bring to the table opposed to I just want a job. So that's the last thing I would want to say.
And save your money, because one day your money is going to save you. So keep your expenses low. I know, you know, everybody's situation is different, but there's no shame in living at home for at least the first couple of years while you get yourself together. Like, you know, live at home, save your money, invest your money. Don't just spend your money on dates and a variety of other things that in the grand scheme of things there's no return on that investment. Assets over liabilities